Hello and welcome to Winchester Now. I'm Mary Blaxland. On today's programme, the Winchester man taking on one of the world's toughest endurance challenges. More industrial action on the trains as Boomtown begins, and Open Studios, the local art group that now has members across the globe. Plus our news roundup and community shout-outs.
Winchester Radio.
A Winchester man is swapping his job as a criminal barrister to sail around the world in a race said to be one of the toughest endurance challenges. And 52-year-old Gary Venturi has never sailed before. He's joining the Clipper Round the World race set up by sailor Robin Knox-Johnson in 1996 for novices and experienced sailors. The 40,000-mile race will take him away from home for 11 months. He told me why he's taking part.
A variety of reasons. Professionally, I was ready for a career break. Personally, I wanted a challenge. I've always felt I had one big challenge in me, something momentous to do or take on or try. And it fell at the right time. I saw an advert. I hadn't known before I saw this particular advert that it was open to novices. I always assumed it was experienced sailors only. So I was very pleased to see that they provided all the training that was necessary. And I successfully passed it all as well, which was a good thing. So I am able to join in.
And what is it you normally do?
So professionally I'm a criminal barrister working from chambers in London. We have an annex down in Portsmouth and one in Birmingham. That sees me travelling all around the country to Crown Courts prosecuting on behalf of the CPS.
And absolutely no sailing experience before this point?
No, none at all. None at all. I haven't even done any pleasure sailing or been on a holiday of that nature. But the first yacht I stood on was one of the retired fleet. We train on the previous fleet, the 68-foot yachts, a yacht that had been round the world on 4 occasions, with different crews. I've found every aspect of it eye-opening and exciting to learn a new skill effectively, pit myself against something new. I think to me the biggest thing is that my fellow crew members are drawn from all around the world, and the people that choose to do this, I think, are all fairly similar characters. So the time on board is also fun. And it's great to meet people from all around the world. 11
months away. What do you think of the main challenges you're going to be facing? There's some pretty rough seas out there.
Well, yes, the sea state and condition is obviously a real worry. Most of a large amount of the training is based on our safety, keeping ourselves and our crewmates safe. Again, I'm using the word challenge a lot. That is the kind of challenge that I'm looking forward to. All of us taking on Mother Nature at her rawest, in fact. The middle of the Pacific is famed, as well as the Southern Ocean, the roaring forties, for incredibly large swells and heavy weather, shall we say. Yes, it's one of those things that you can't really train for. Having done all the safety and being confident in my skipper and my crewmates, I'm sure we'll do just fine.
You've touched a bit on the training. What's involved? How intense is it?
It's pretty intense. You are required to undertake 4 levels of training. Each level is a week. Level 1 I now consider sort of champagne sailing. That was more about familiarisation with the yacht and the Clipper terms, how Clipper operates, the safety regulations on board, and coming alongside every night. So it was quite a social time. I did my level 2 and 3 back to back, 2 weeks in March, just to give myself some taste of slightly rougher weather, colder conditions, a lot of rain. And those are levels where that you really consolidate what you've learned, but also you start picking up new skills in relation to the spinnaker is introduced on level 3, a different type of sail. For me, it was the first time that I helmed at night and things like that. Level 4 is then the final week that you undertake after the crews have been allocated to their skipper and boat, so that you undertake that level on your boat with your skipper. So it's the first time really that you are starting to get to know the people that you'll actually be sailing with. Yes, it's enjoyable, and as I say, I feel very confident because of the training that I've been given.
At no point were you thinking, what have I done? Hasn't put you off? It's said to be one of the toughest endurance challenges, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, yes it is. It hasn't. There have been times I've come off deck cold, tired. It feels difficult to be able to get dry. Obviously down below there's not an awful lot of room or any creature comforts, but that is the type of challenge that I know I'm undertaking, and it's something that I think you rise to. The fleeting moments of thinking, this is challenging this week and I'm taking this on for 11 months. But I think the commitment to the race, your teammates, and a will to see it through really is what drives me on.
What is it going to be like on board?
Conditions are, as I say, cosy. We'll get to know each other very well. On my team there are 9 round-the-world competitors, so obviously we'll get to know each other very well, as well as the 2 professionals, the skipper and the AQP, the additional qualified person. And then obviously on each leg we have an injection of new faces, which will be good. In total we have 71 people that will crew the yacht for the 11 months, driving us around the 40,000 miles.
No luxuries as well, I suppose.
Very few. I've actually taken on the role of victualler for our yacht, so I'll try to have little surprises to raise spirits, the odd bit of chocolate hidden here and there, cake mixture and things like that. Yes, other than a few personal effects, really it is a stripped out ocean racing yacht. There's not much room for the niceties of life, I suppose you would call them. But yes, it's everything that one needs is there. The system of hot bunking. One partner for the bunk is on deck, the other one is sleeping. So, as I say, it's just as well. We're all similar characters, and I've got on with everybody I've met so far because, yes, conditions are quite close.
And as the day approaches, how are you feeling?
Obviously excited, a little nervous. Doing the round, saying goodbye to family is a little poignant, but really it's shifting from the professional world to this adventure. It's taking a time to sort of move from one world to the next, but as we get closer it becomes all the more real, and I can't wait to get started really. I am really glad of the opportunity. As I say, I wasn't aware it was open to people like me. I think it's a wonderful thing knowing the history of Clipper, or a little bit about it. This year there are 730 crew members from 68 nations, and the charity partner is UNICEF, and that gives me a certain amount of pride knowing that I'll be able to achieve something personally and for others.
Gary Venturi talking to Winchester Radio, and the Clipper Round the World race starts from Portsmouth on the 3rd of September.
Now for some of the stories making the news in Winchester. I'm Steve Walker. More than 60,000 people will descend on Winchester over the next few days for Boomtown. The music festival at the Matterley Bowl attracts people from across the country and marks its 15th anniversary this year. It's likely to cause traffic disruption across Winchester and the surrounding roads. Meanwhile, people heading to the festival by rail could find their journeys disrupted because of industrial action. ASLEF is staging an overtime ban in the ongoing dispute over pay. It's the latest in over a year of strikes on the railways, and we asked people in Winchester what they make of the ongoing action.
Two minds really. I mean, it's really inconvenient, but at the same time I've got some sympathy for anyone at the moment who's been paid less than what the rate of interest it actually is.
I do go on the train regularly, but I've been careful about buying tickets because of the strikes. I don't think they should be on strike.
What do you think about the industrial action carrying on?
Really upsetting, to be honest. I think they just want too much money and the railways are not making the money. I do think it's a government problem. I do think there's a lot of wastage within Network Rail if you look at what they do. But yeah, it's just like any other industry at the moment. Very disappointing.
Well, if I was a regular commuter, I'd be pretty grim. It would be pretty grim. It doesn't affect me so much, but it seems to be going on and without any resolution. So it's the length of this disruption, and they're not doing themselves any favour because obviously trains need to be paid for. They're not working. They're not going to get passengers. The whole thing's negative.
Oh, well, it's a nightmare. Absolute nightmare. Yeah, I just can't bear it. It's time to call it a day. It's gone on long enough. It's disrupting people's lives.
Yeah, I don't use the railway because it's so expensive. So, I mean, the rail strike doesn't affect me, but I don't know, it must affect a lot of people, doesn't it? But my own feelings, I couldn't care less, to be honest with you. Sorry.
I don't travel anywhere at the moment, so it doesn't really affect me. I just wish they'd bring automated trains in and sort the problems out once and for all.
South Western Railway are running a revised timetable and have advised passengers to check before they travel. Now an update on a story from last week when we interviewed 14-year-old Sylvester Haller from Winchester, who was heading off to the World Scout Jamboree in South Korea. Well, as you may know, the 4,000 UK Scouts were moved from the camp to hotels in the capital because of extreme temperatures and poor conditions, with many youngsters falling ill. Winchester Now spoke to Paul Haller, Sylvester's dad, who says his son is doing fine. He said while the Scouts were bound to be disappointed, he hoped the activities organised in Seoul would go some way to compensate. A number of groups have come together to protest against plans to continue to explore for oil and gas on farmland near Abington. Extinction Rebellion and Winchester Action on Climate Change were among those who gathered at the site. Explorations have taken place over a number of years, and now iGas Energy Limited wants to keep the site in operation for another 5 years. Campaigners say any extraction will add to the climate crisis, but the company says the UK cannot rely solely on renewable energy sources.
It's National Allotment Week this week, but did you know there's a community allotment in Winchester, run by the group Incredible Edible Winchester? It's based at Eddington Road and anyone is invited to go along and join in with the work. The group's Kitty Todd told me how it all began.
We have started off with planters at the train station, so people could sort of get the message that if we can grow food here, you can grow food anywhere. It's a kind of our billboard, as it were, and so people would maybe get in touch with us. To expand our growing, we got an allotment at Eddington Road, and that we would run as a community allotment with sessions on a Tuesday and a Saturday morning. Anyone's free to get in touch with us via food@winac.org.uk and come and have a go on the allotment and maybe become sort of regulars. We grow things together, we share what we grow, we have cups of tea and biscuits and generally enjoy life. You know, it's just beneficial to, if you're feeling a bit depressed or a bit whatever, it's just really good therapy.
Yeah. Tell me what difference it makes for people to come and get involved in that allotment.
Some people, you know, maybe they're new to Winchester, don't have many friends, and suddenly they got a group who all know them well. You know, it does alleviate stress. Just getting into nature and growing something, or weeding, or strimming, or all the tasks that we do. It's all healthy, it's in the open air, and it's a friendly place.
And you've got more planters as well now around Winchester,
yeah,
not just the station.
We've got them at the station. We've got one at Abbey Gardens. When they refurbished the park, they refurbished the planter as well. So where the station ones, if you look at them rather hard, you might see that the woods is getting to show signs of age, but we now have a nice brick planter in Abbey Gardens. And that's a lovely sort of little focal point, so we can do engagement with young families. And Charlotte and I have done quite a few seed planting events there, where people can come and put a little few seeds in a pot and take it home, and it's a good engagement, I think.
And what for the future?
Well, I mean, more and more people are getting allotments, sort of, who they come, they've put their name down for an allotment, but they know it's going to be maybe 6 months, a year, 2 years, and so they start gardening with us. And the main thing is that they're kind of learning an awful lot as they go along, because Jim Morgan, who's our sort of head gaffer, is very knowledgeable. He's been growing veg for years and years and years, and so he knows about getting things going in a greenhouse and potting them on. So then when they get their allotment, they feel much more capable of really getting things growing and knowing that we're there as a backup for sort of tips.
And how can people get involved? How can they find out more?
They can find out more through the Winchester Action on Climate Change website, through the Incredible Edible Facebook page, mainly, as I say, sort of emailing food@winac.org.uk.
And Incredible Edible Winchester is also holding a meeting on August the 23rd at Winnell Community Association about plans to create a community garden. It starts at 7 p.m.
Now for more news from around our city. Major plans have been revealed to redevelop Winchester City Football Club. The proposals include a new artificial pitch at the ground in Abbots Barton, as well as floodlights, new stands and an extension of the parking area. The club has been fundraising for new facilities for some time, with some funding also coming from the City Council and Football Foundation. It says the work will allow more matches to take place for both men and women's teams. An event has been held in Winchester to try to engage with young people involved in antisocial behaviour. The first ever Young People Together Day took place at the Sport and Leisure Park and was organised by the City Council and police. Activities included basketball, rock climbing and boxing. A number of organisations took part, including the Prince's Trust, Army Careers and No Limits Counselling and Advice Centre. There was discussion on topics such as drugs and knife crime. A family fun day takes place in the Abbey Gardens and Guildhall Courtyard this Friday. The free event will include performances, a circus skills workshop, face painting, crafts and more. The aim is to help families over the summer holidays and runs from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. And residents and visitors can step back in time on Sunday. A live-action reenactment of the Civil War is taking place at the Westgate from 11:30. It will be followed by a march down the High Street to the City Museum, where the soldiers will be making camp for the afternoon to show off their skills and gear. I'm Steve Walker for Winchester Radio.
Hi, I'm Paul Blitz, and it's time for this week's shout-outs here on Winchester Now. Let's start by giving some cheers to the team who set up a festival for young adults at Jack's Place Hospice near Winchester. The event featured live music from local musicians, a barbecue, glitter face painting, massages, mocktails, snacks, and a lot of singing and dancing. The musicians all gave up their time to play, and afterwards they chatted with the young people. Although the festival had to be inside because of the rain, it didn't put a damper on the fun, and the staff say it was an uplifting and happy atmosphere and a day to remember. Next, a shout out to the team at Shenton Solicitors who swapped their desks for the kitchen. They volunteered their time to help out at Trinity Winchester and prepared and served a meal for 50 residents and staff. Staying with food, and Winchester Youth Counselling has given a huge thank you to bakers who made so many delicious cakes for a recent garden party and bake sale. The event took place in the garden of one of the councillors and raised close to £1,000. The charity is also grateful to all of those who came along and donated and those who volunteered their time to help. It relies on donations and grants to provide free counselling and therapies to young people. Finally, a big shout out to all the volunteers who marshal at the Winchester Park Run, come rain or shine. And last Saturday, they were greeted by torrential rain. Among the volunteers was a team from Winchester Rotary and Winchester Radio's very own Anna O'Brien, who helped cheer on 294 runners who braved the challenging conditions. More shout outs for you next week here on Winchester Now.
Winchester Radio.
August is the month when artists across Hampshire open up their homes and studios to showcase their skills, and Winchester Now has been to meet some of those taking part. This week we hear about a group called Strange Times Quest, which was set up at the start of the COVID pandemic in Kingsworthy and now has members across the world. I spoke to founder Terry Linehan and founding member Paul Young.
It came about at the very beginning of COVID that we felt that we were definitely going through strange times. In order to kind of cheer ourselves up a bit and try and help us all feel a little less isolated, we decided that we would put some paintings together and that we would each paint on our own, in our own homes, and that we would share them by email with each other when they were completed. So these became our quests, our painting quests. Each month, as we went through COVID, we had a different quest, and these took us out of the environment perhaps we found ourselves in at that time, but we went to the seaside, I went to a garden centre, all sorts of places that we felt we would rather be than maybe having to be in lockdown.
So how did it work then? Who set the quests and what sort of things did they have to do?
Terry was the driver behind this, so she would set the quests on a monthly basis, and to be honest with you, I think it was anything that sort of popped into her head. We've had some really interesting ones from sort of, what I can see out the window, a day at the beach. We even had one which was where you wear the whole sort of Viennese masks for the dancing balls, and that was lovely. Christmas themes and things, so it's great. I mean, it's such variety. Different people interpret the quest in a different manner to what you might do. So it's been very interesting to see what people have come up with.
And lockdown finished, but it's carried on and become even more popular, hasn't it?
Well, yes, and that was a bit of a surprise to me, really, because I thought, OK, it's taken us through these turbulent times. And I think because we wanted, towards the end of lockdown, we wanted then to think about, OK, well, shall we just celebrate our achievements? So we decided we would celebrate our achievements by bringing our paintings and us together and have an open studio. And that was the first year we entered for the Hampshire Open Studio. And what I hadn't anticipated, I think, really, was that, A, there'd be an appetite, having done the first open studio, that people were already, before we packed it up, saying, well, next year when we do this, we will. And that we also had a very long list of extra people wanting to join the group because they'd come and seen what we've been doing. For me, that was a big surprise.
And now there's people up and down the country and even worldwide, I believe.
Yes, there are. It's mainly Hampshire-centric, but we do have people in Yorkshire, Cornwall, abroad in France, America, and even Australia, I noticed this week, with somebody's email address. So that was very interesting to me. So, yeah, it's great to see such engagement with this.
And what do you think it is that has captured people's attention? What makes it so popular?
I think it's that people realise that creativity is an important part of their lives. I think many people felt that they could reconnect with something that maybe they hadn't done since childhood, and that there's never time. You don't make time perhaps in a busy day or a busy week or a busy life to do something creative. And I think people discovered that not only did they enjoy it, it was therapeutic. And I think that even though we're not in lockdown, even even though COVID isn't written with capital letters in front of us at the moment, there are still lots of things that go wrong with people's lives. And I think that this is an outlet that lets people kind of find an escape from the day-to-day pressures of what life throws at them.
Absolutely. You can lose yourself. You get your painting materials out, your paper, and that first touch of the paper, and you lose yourself. Your concentration is in the moment of what am I putting on this piece of paper? What's it going to be? What direction am I going? And the world outside of that vision no longer matters. And it's 1 to 4 hours, a whole afternoon or a whole morning, it suddenly disappears. And then you sort of sit back and put your tools down and think, oh, where did that come from? And it's lovely. It's great.
And Open Studios starting again soon. What can people see if they come along?
This year will be our largest exhibition. We'll have well in excess of 250 paintings, I would think, on show with the number of members we've got this year. A great variety. We'll have our quests, and we're also doing something very, very special this year, which is a frieze, kind of based on the Bayeux Tapestry, on the journey of the members through Strange Times Quest. A panel which will be about 16 feet long, and it will sort of catalogue or show the time frame from beginning to where we get to today. And it's something special. When we put it together for the first time, it'll be lovely to see that.
And tell me a bit about where it's happening, when it's happening, what time people can come along.
So it's taking place at St Mary's Chapel on Fraser Road, Kingsworthy, Friday, Saturday, Sunday of the Monday of the bank holiday weekend. So it's starting on Friday the 25th of August. We're open 10 till 4 every day and 10 till 1 on Monday. Plenty of tea, plenty of cake, a very special cake, which was very popular last year. We will have artists in residence each day and even a pyrographer coming through to use wood, burn images into wood. So that'll be great. So there's lots to see on that day. Yeah.
And what for the future then of the group?
Hopefully more of the same. What we've discovered is we're all developing confidence, I think, in what we do and how we do it. So we don't just paint. We sometimes, do other things. We use other media. We learn to paint without paintbrushes. So we're becoming perhaps more daring in what we're doing, and we're skilling ourselves in different ways. But I think there's also the fact that this group forms friendships. Even though we don't meet together in person regularly, it's interesting that we are a community, and I think that will continue to go from strength to strength.
And for more information about all the Open Studios, visit hampshireopenstudios.org.uk, or you can pick up a booklet from the Tourist Information Office and other venues. We'll talk to another group taking part next week. That's all from Winchester Now for this week. Many thanks for listening.
You've been listening to Winchester Now. We hope you've enjoyed this Winchester radio programme. Remember, if you have a story to share with us, please do get in touch. You can drop us an email at news@winchester.radio. And you can follow us on social media, including Facebook and Twitter. Just search for Winchester Radio.
Winchester Radio.